Hi, my name is Morgan Moody, and my field of study is education. I wrote to be published in Teach Magazine, which is a magazine primarily focusing on education in the United States. Its target audience are mostly teachers, students, and parents. My career field uses a lot of writing conventions. After all, they are teachers. Tone is a big one, as most teachers talk in a friendly, familiar way, especially in writing articles that they know other teachers are going to be reading. The main rhetorical conventions that I imitated in my paper were tone, sentence variety, and using the logos appeal. In my rhetorical comparison paper, I thoroughly explained these conventions that I imitated and why I chose them. My WID paper is about how reading controversial texts such as To Kill a Mockingbird, The Catcher in the Rye, and Romeo and Juliet in the classroom affects students. This topic has been argued over again and again, and I don't see it being resolved anytime soon. With this paper, I wanted to inform my audience of the controversy and also make a place to compile some of the main thoughts on the topic, both pros and cons to banning books in the United States education system. The research that I used in my WID paper all came from educated, trustworthy authors writing for magazines and other online sources. My research came from the sources Education World, Huffington Post, Chalkbeat, Punchnose, Vision Launch, The Guardian, NBC News, and The Atlantic. I researched all authors before deciding to use their ideas and articles in writing my own paper, and I find them to be very credible sources. My guiding research question is, how can reading controversial texts in the classroom affect students, and should teachers remove them from their lesson plans? My thesis statement is, while some believe there are lessons to be learned, even the not-so-pretty ones, in these kinds of readings, and that they are essential to the development of students, others still argue that the positive effects do not outweigh the negative. My paper has 5 key body paragraph points, and those are: students should not be reading controversial texts in the classroom because they can be so difficult for teachers to actually teach. Realistically, students don't get enough time in just one class to be taught something as extensive as Shakespeare, especially when there are so many other key concepts and ideas we want our students to grasp before the end of each year. Another key point, controversial texts should be taken out of schools because they can be damaging to students. It's no secret that these books contain sex, violence, prejudice, discrimination, and drug abuse, and teachers and parents around the United States don't want their children being introduced to that stuff in school. They don't want the gritty material to make their students act a certain way or say certain things, or even just end up making them extremely uncomfortable. No kid should ever feel unsafe or singled out in a classroom. My next key point is that controversial text should be kept in schools because it's wrong to censor classic books. These books have gained the rewarding title as a classic for a reason, and many believe that they've earned that spot in our schools. Teachers believe that there are so many great lessons to be learned in these books, and if there wasn't such an amazing moral resolve or something similar, they wouldn't be considered classics. Another key point is that controversial texts should be kept in the classroom because they encourage growth and development in the students. A lot of these books have morals and lessons that are taught throughout the text, and many teachers believe that they are essential to the growth and development of students. The situations and problems in the books are ones that students should be introduced to so that they understand similar situations in their own lives, and they've developed the critical thinking skills to handle them. The books are real, and it doesn't make sense for us to shield students from them when they're going to be very real similar situations in their own lives after high school, or maybe even during. The last key point in my paper is that controversial books should be kept in the classroom because they inflict an emotional response from the students. So many teachers would argue that this is one of the most important parts of any literature class. Students should feel a connection to the things that they read in school, whether it be with their lives or in themselves personally. Students make connections with situations, events, places, people, and so many other things. Teachers want their students to have an emotional response to things because that's what aids in the growth and development of each student. The topic of taking controversial books out of our classrooms throughout America is argued over often. As you can see, there's so many pros and cons to reading these books. Some just want to protect students from what they see as harmful, gritty material, but others see the importance in reading these texts and what they actually can do for the students.